If you've ever tried a raw oyster for the first time, the experience often catches people off guard. It's not like meat, not like fish, and certainly not like the shrimp or crab most of us are familiar with. When you gently tilt the shell and let the oyster meat and the small pool of liquid inside slide into your mouth, the first thing you usually notice isn't the texture, it's the taste of the ocean. The liquid inside an oyster shell even has its own name, liquor. It sounds like alcohol, but it's actually just seawater that the oyster holds inside while it's alive. This liquid carries many dissolved minerals from the surrounding environment. Because of that, oysters from different regions taste slightly different. Some have a distinctly salty flavor, while others are a bit sweeter with a hint of seaweed. Experienced seafood lovers sometimes say they can almost taste where an oyster was grown from just a small sip. What's fascinating is that oysters hardly need cooking to be delicious. Their flesh is soft, smooth, and delicate. And high heat can sometimes take away those qualities. That's why, in the culinary world, oysters are often seen as a direct sample of the ocean itself. When you eat a raw oyster, you're not just eating a shellfish, you're tasting a tiny piece of the marine environment where it lived. But if oysters represent the pure, original flavor of the sea, another shellfish plays a completely opposite role. Instead of preserving the taste of the ocean, it seems almost designed to absorb the flavors of whatever you cook with it. Imagine a large pan heating up on the stove. Butter melts slowly,
on crushed ice
garlic
with a
sizzles
classic
and releases
mignonette.
its aroma,
Enjoy.
and onions soften in the hot oil.
Oysters
Then comes
truly
a
are the pure
splash of
taste of the
white
ocean,
wine,
a blend of the salty brine
sending
and the sea
fragrant
breeze,
steam
captured in
into
one
the
shell.
air. When mussels are added to the pan and begin to open their shells, the sauce quickly mingles with the meat inside. This is where mussels reveal their special talent. Their meat has a soft, slightly porous structure. In simple terms, it's a bit like a small sponge. That structure allows them to absorb surrounding flavors very quickly. After just a few minutes in a sauce of white wine and butter, mussels become fully infused with the seasoning. Because of this characteristic, European cuisine has a dish that has almost become iconic. Moules marinières mussels cooked with white wine, butter, and garlic. When you eat this dish, the experience isn't just about the taste of the sea. Each mussel feels like a small pouch filled with the rich flavor of the entire pan of sauce. For this reason, mussels are rarely eaten raw. It's not that they can't be eaten that way, but doing so would waste their incredible ability to absorb flavor. In many dishes, mussels act like a bridge that helps all the ingredients blend together into one harmonious taste. If oysters represent the ocean in its purest form, then mussels act more like flavor amplifiers in the kitchen. And somewhere between those two extremes lies another creature that plays a balancing role, a character that is just soft enough, yet firm enough to give structure to an entire dish. Clams have a very different culinary personality. While oysters focus on delivering the raw, unfiltered taste of the sea, and mussels excel at soaking up sauces. Clams sit comfortably between those two worlds. Clam meat has a light chewiness and a slightly springy texture. It is not the kind of toughness that is difficult to chew, but rather a pleasant firmness that lets you clearly feel each bite. The reason lies in the way clams live beneath the ocean floor. They usually bury themselves in sand and constantly dig and shift to move around. This continuous activity develops their muscles quite well, especially the muscles used for digging. You can imagine it, much like a person who exercises regularly. The muscles become stronger and more toned, as a result. When clams are cooked, their meat keeps a defined structure instead of becoming overly soft or falling apart. That is why clams are such a wonderful choice for soups and pasta dishes. Think of a steaming bowl of clam chowder, where small pieces of clam rest within a rich, creamy soup. Or picture a plate of Italian spaghetti alle vongole, where pasta, olive oil, garlic, and clam broth blend together into a beautifully simple dish. Clams do not dominate a dish the way oysters sometimes can. Yet they are not merely background ingredients either. They act more like a rhythm keeper, creating small bursts of flavor that appear in each bite. Looking at these three shellfish together, you can see that they represent three completely different experiences of the ocean. Oysters deliver the most primal sensation, almost like tasting a sip of pure seawater. Mussels, on the other hand, are creatures made to absorb and carry the flavor of sauces. Clams stand right in the middle, maintaining a balance between texture and the taste of the sea. What makes this even more interesting is that these differences were not invented by chefs. They come directly from the biological structures of each species, shaped through millions of years of evolution beneath the ocean. Chefs simply recognize these natural characteristics and use them in ways that suit each ingredient best. So, the next time you find yourself standing in front of a seafood counter, you might remember a very simple rule. If you want to taste the ocean in its purest form, choose oysters. If you want a dish overflowing with the flavor of sauce, go with mussels. And if you are looking for a balance between the sea and the dish itself, clams are almost always a safe choice. Not a bad guide for dinner.
From these volcanic depths, life emerged, slowly
And if you
adapting
look a
over
little
countless
closer,
millennia.
you might realize
Yes,
that
these
the
are the
ocean
finest
still
clams
holds
we have
countless
seen all
fascinating
week. How many
secrets
can I get
hidden
for you?
inside the small creatures we usually only notice once they arrive on our plates.